DIY.
DIYers, it was only a few days ago that I decided to look a little bit deeper into that first Drake diss Push-Ups because there was two different versions. In the midst of me doing this, I actually took both versions that I found and I noticed there were differences in them, but I wanted to stem them out and look a little bit deeper into that. As I looked deeper into the details of it and I started to listen to the first version, I suspected that it might have been AI. The internet went crazy with these speculations. The chat inside my YouTube, shout out to my DIYers.
DIY.
These independent artists understand it because they've been watching content for the last year about all of the weird things going on with AI and AI music and UMG. And then also the fact that they keep utilizing Drake's voice. Drake is so aligned with this AI thing, and it's been like that since we heard from the ghostwriter about a year ago. With that said, though, I put these accusations out there. Not even really accusations. I put this information out there really just to raise questions. I had questions about, is it an AI reference track? Is it some people even call it a pitch track, where say you're a songwriter and you send off, say you want to work with Drake, but you want Drake to get the vision in a different way. You write a song, and then usually the pitch track would be you performing the song and your best impersonation of Drake. Drake listens to it and he says, that's a great song. I want to cut that and I want to re-record it. I need this on my new project, right? That happens in all different genres. In hip hop, it's a little bit more of an issue, much more of an issue, specifically when it comes to writing your own lyrics, which is why it was such a controversy when the whole ghostwriter allegations happened with Drake and Quentin Miller and Meek Mill. So at that point, for me as a hip hop fan, Drake's pen is always in question. His tactics are always in question because I don't necessarily look at him as someone that you would call a hip hop purist. I don't look at him as somebody that's the traditional hip hop artist. I look at him as somebody that used hip hop as a vehicle, used his acting as a vehicle to become the biggest or one of the biggest pop sensations that goes and dabbles deeply into hip hop. Let's not negate the fact that he works with a lot of artists, up and coming artists, and he's been responsible for, some may call it wave riding, some people may call it, lifting them up onto his platform. No matter what you call it, it cannot be mistaken that he's had an impact on mainstream hip hop. However, after those allegations of ghostwriting, a lot of things came under speculation. And when we started to see the Push-Ups diss song that Drake had for Kendrick, I, like many other people, had questions, not about his ability to write, but I guess more so his willingness to do it on his own when he doesn't have to. Beef is very different than it was, say, in the 90s. The stakes are much, much higher. The money that you're talking about losing out on, much, much more. And because of that, I don't think that people are nearly crashing out, well, at least folks in the position of a Drake or Kendrick are crashing out nearly as much as they might have done when your reputation meant the end of your business if you didn't take care of it. With that said, these are the things that I thought about as Push-Ups came up. I analyzed the songs. I did a video. That video, I put it on Twitter. It got 2.4 million views in less than 24 hours. I bring this up because we're going to talk about the Drake song, but I got to give you context of why I feel like there may be a possibility we may be part of the people he's throwing strays at with this tailor-made freestyle. This goes viral. Matter of fact, there were people like, shout out to Karen Civil, who followed me after this post went viral. That's what got me thinking like, uh-oh, is something going on? Did I get too close to the truth? I put this clip up, 2.4 million views, 1,400 comments. Don't get too excited though. Most of those were actually bots. Oh boy, when I tell you about these bots, I had bots that were attacking that post on a consistent basis. For almost 12 to 14 hours, I received bots. Now, anybody can have access to bots. So I'm going to say I think that they are allegedly, or at the very least, connected to UMG. And of course, when you bring UMG, Drake is the poster child for UMG. They paid him $400 million for their relationship. They struck a deal with him for upwards of $400 million. He and Taylor Swift are the top priorities. So, of course, anything that they want to launch, anything they want to protect, they are going to send everything that they have at it. Now, that is just allegedly. But the reason I started thinking that way, if you follow my train of thinking, is that look at the different disses, first of all, the disses. Look at the different tweets that were sent my way from these bots. On that same post that I showed you with 2.1 million people, these bot accounts are saying, Kendrick lets a stray cat lick peanut butter off of his crumb nuts. Hashtag TSTTPD and hashtag Taylor Swift. That's weird. Next one says, I can't believe Metro Boomin got tossed out the studio about Southside. Obviously, Drake has issues with Kendrick and Metro Boomin in the midst of this back and forth. And it says hashtag 808 Mafia. And then once again, hashtag Taylor Swift. Odd. Next one. You can't keep it forever. Gotta drop the diss, Kendrick. Once again, hashtag Taylor Swift. The funny thing about it is that these bots, there's another one about Rick Ross. Rick Ross drops the soap on purpose is what this bot says. It's very specific. Once again, hashtag Taylor Swift. They sent these bots for almost 14 hours to this one particular post. It wasn't just about attacking me. It was about attacking the credibility of that one singular post. Now, of course, the Drake stans and fans and people who were, against the idea were going against it. But this is what really bothered me, because the same thing happened to Pusha T. When they had AI photos of him and a salamander making out, I cannot make this stuff up. The bots went and attacked in the same way. Now, what makes this interesting is that this was on Thursday, all throughout Friday. What happened on Friday? I'll tell you what happened. Taylor Swift released a new project. Universal Poster Child. Also, here's where I'm not going to take credit for being the reason. We can't do that. That's being very self-centered, that we can take credit for Drake putting the song out on Friday. I think it was planned beforehand for it to be a UMG type of day. UMG win all the way around. But it does look peculiar when these are all leading to promoting Taylor Swift and making sure that a post that seems somewhat discredits Drake is attacked at the same time. So these hashtags also serve as a way to make Taylor Swift even more of a trending topic. Who benefits off of that? As you go down the rabbit hole a little bit more, think about this. Think about this for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I always come with receipts. This is from an article in Financial Times. I believe it was in, was it last year? It might have been last year. This is right when all this stuff was happening with the ghostwriter. Financial Times, the headline reads, Google and Universal Music negotiate deals over AI deep fakes. New technology that can mimic artists' voices has been seen as a growing threat. And if you remember at this time, UMG was striking down accounts like Ghostwriter, because many people thought that maybe they wanted to get ahead of this situation. Of course, protect your business. They actually had a meeting with Google in August of 2023, the details of which we don't have because, hey, most of it is none of our business. But it is concerning, especially when we start to think about the rollout of this diss. Push-ups. Matter of fact, shout out to Brian Z. He made another great point that I want to highlight here. He said, UMG has been issuing DMCA takedown notices. If you don't know, DMCA is one of those websites you can go to in case someone is using your music or using your files in an illegal way. They'll go on your behalf and take those records down. They'll go on your behalf and basically help to expedite that process for your music and your property, right? So it says, UMG has been issuing DMCA takedown notices for the past year. Whenever a fake AI Drake song pops up, now I need to find out how they feel about the second biggest act in their label system using AI. A major endorsement, to do the same thing. UMG has been issuing DMCA takedown notices for the past year whenever an AI fake Drake song pops up. Now I need to find out how they feel about the second biggest act being Drake in their label system using AI, a major endorsement to do the same thing. Now, for those of you that are confused, when did Drake use AI? Yesterday. I got a text message. Shout out to the homie Eugene O'Neill. He said, Curtis, go to Drake's Instagram. In my brain, I was like, my post went viral. He probably over there being real sassy and light-skinned. What you think you are, Curtis? Shut up. He probably over there being real sassy and light-skinned, like, tell your buddy, say something. Tell your buddy. Just, you know, the shit he be saying. That's what I thought. Instead, I was met with this post. Very cryptic caption he reads that says, tailor-made freestyle, while we wait on you, I guess. And obviously this is a message to Kendrick, who we still haven't heard from since he dropped one verse. I gotta keep reminding you, this has all been from one verse. I'll explain it later, but I think your boy Drizzy is nervous or getting impatient. Because I don't think any of this that we're going to listen to has anything to do with these first two songs. I think he is in a rush to get to that third one. I think he thinks that one is the knockout blow. He's got something, right? I can't wait to say. But he needs to speed up the process with Kendrick. Hey, come on. Why do I feel like that? He did the same thing with Meek Mill. Knowing that Meek Mill was on tour, he released that first one, Charged Up. While you're reacting to that, he said, I'll give y'all a few days or whatever he said. The next one came out was back to back. While the man is obviously still on tour trying to get to a studio. This is very strategic, of course. I think this is what Drake does to get ahead in a battle where he has no interest in engaging lyrically. His battle is about public perception and public opinion. He wants to win the internet. A Kendrick wants to win hip hop. Listen to this tailor-made freestyle. You give me your thoughts.
Kendrick, we need ya.
Wait, hold on. Hold the hell on. One more time from the top.
Illuminati. Does rise again. You can see it in my eyes again. We need ya, the West Coast savior. Ain't great in your name and some hip-hop history. If you deal with this viciously, you seem a little nervous about all the publicity. For this Canadian light-skinned dot, we need to know the baby West Coast victory, man. Call him a bitch for me. Talk about him liking young girls, that's a gift for me. Heard it on the Budding podcast, it's gotta be true. They told me the spirit of Machiavelli is alive, and a nigga under 5'5", so it's gotta be you. I would beat the whole fucking game. It was me and Snoop Dogg.
If you didn't guess it by now, this is Drake using AI technology to voice clone 2pac Shakur. What happened to the hip hop I love? I feel like the old man that's shaking his hand, looking at the new NBA. What happened to the game I love? What happened to the game I love? You think 2pac would have been okay with this if he was still around? Like, what made you go disturb this man off? He over there sipping lattes in Cuba, and you went and got that man to come here. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? I'll let him continue.
Have my fucking shirt off in the house of blues. Can you gotta fuck this nigga, girl? He gotta get abused. All that shit about.
I know I stopped it. I'm sorry, but I hate Drake's flow with 2pac. Drake has an amazing flow for Drake. I hate it under 2pac's voice. This is terrible.
Burning tattoos, he's not amused. That's jail talk for real thugs. You gotta be you. Gotta leave this motherfucker broken and bruised before we really lose. You asked for the smoke, now I seen you too busy for the smoke. I won't lie, the people confused. Now you about to get this shit another week and fall back to homegirl for running numbers up. I would've refused for these industry relationships. She not in your shoes. You supposed to be the boogeyman, go do what you do. Unless this is a moment that you tell us this not really you. In that case, there's nothing left to say. I just pass it to Snoop.
Yes, yo. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it here. Stop it right here. Stop it right here. Imagine if you could talk to Tupac right now and tell him about this whole ordeal. Hey, Pac, there's this biracial rapper from Canada, Jewish biracial rapper from Canada, who used to be on a Nickelodeon show called Degrassi. He's an actor first, right? We heard of him as an actor first, who found his way into the hearts of first the female fan base of hip hop, and then eventually the male side of hip hop. He went around to different cultures like Memphis, Houston, Florida, New York, the Bay Area. Hell, he even went reggae dance hall for a second. Sampling UK for a second, sampling everyone's culture like it's another food item inside of Hometown Buffet. And there are people right now listening to him, oohing and eyeing about imitating your voice. Tupac Shakur, son of Black Panther members, socially conscious. Yes, they're allowing this, and they're parading this on. They're. Let's get to the Snoop verse.
What the fuck you really got to do? We passed you the torch at the House of Blues, and now you gotta do some dirty work. You know how to move, right? Right? I know you never been to jail, orange jumpsuits and shower shoes. Never shot nobody, never stabbed nobody, never did nothing violent, and no one. It's the homies that empower you. But still, you gotta show this fucking aisle who's boss on the west. Now's the time to really make a power move, cause right now it's looking like you writing out the game plan on how to lose, how to bark up the wrong tree and then get your head popped in a crowded room. World is watching this chess game, but are you out of moves? That you know the DOG never fucking doubted you, but right now it seems like you posted up without a clue of what the fuck you about to do. Yeah, that's the truth.
I don't know. So let me just say this. As a chess move to win the internet over, to sway public opinion in your favor, round of applause. This is how you win the people who are not necessarily passionate about hip hop, but they wear hip hop like a uniform. They wear it like Supreme gear. Yeah, I'm hip hop. Yeah, look at. This is how you win for folks who have no context, for folks who don't really love this culture, folks who are like going to grow up and work corporate jobs in their 30s and 40s and say, yeah, I had my time where, I was a hip hop hit. No, sir, you were not. You listened to one aspect of this hip hop culture, that being the rap aspect, but this is not something that shows your allegiance to hip hop. I listen to this and I'm like, this wins the internet. He is ahead. But I'm going to go ahead and say I am sure that Kendrick is not playing the internet. He's never playing the internet game. He's always remained in the shadows until he has a new project. That's not the game I don't think that Kendrick is playing. And I'm going to go ahead and get to this. Actually, no. Before we do that, should we go to the Snoop stuff or should we let him finish? Let him finish because this video really is more so about this freestyle. So if you didn't catch it, Drake has now rapped as Tupac using AI. Drake is now rapped as Snoop, who's still alive, of course, using AI. And now he's taking the third verse.
I'm definitely about to come around the land gang and let my fucking bow move. Shitting on you niggas from a whole different altitude. High up in the sky like I'm Howard Hughes. The first one really only took me an hour or two. The next one is really about to bring out the coward in you. But now we gotta wait a fucking week, cause Taylor Swift is your new top. And if you about to drop, she gotta approve. This girl really about to make you act like you not in a feud. She tailor-made your schedule.
Don't you think it's weird to bring up Taylor Swift in the middle of a battle? Like, I know that there's a conversation about what I believe is Taylor Swift's manager and as Kendrick's manager and how this may put put Kendrick on a back seat in terms of priority for him to release a song. But isn't it weird to hear a pop singer's name in a troll diss song, whatever you want to call this? That's just weird. But once again, I point all of your attention back to they're both UMG artists. Let's let them finish it up.
You out of the loop. Hate all you corporate industry puppets, I'm not in the mood. I love it when you niggas talk loose like I'm not in the room. Since like that, your tone changed a little, you not as enthused. How are you not in the booth? It feel like you kinda removed. You tryna let this shit die down. Nah, not this time, nigga, you following through. I guess you need another week to figure out how to improve. What the fuck is taking so long? We waiting on you. The rest of y'all are definitely involved, y'all getting it too. Soon as you get the courage to drop, I'm out on the loose. On the loose. Yeah, shout out to Taylor Swift.
What?
Biggest gangster in the music game right now. You know, I moved my album when she dropped. I said that already. You know, she about to do a Millie Rock on your head top. She got the whole PG Lang on mute like that Beyonce challenge. Y'all boys quiet for the weekend. Like, I know you in that NY apartment. You struggling right now. I know it. In the notepad doing lyric.
Could you imagine in the midst of Tupac doing Hit 'Em Up, if he was like, shout out to George Michael, shout out to Elton John, shout out to Michael Jackson. Huh? Could you imagine that? That's why, yeah, Get Money, West Side. Like, this to me, when I listen to this, I say, oh, Drake's no longer talking to hip hop. He never was talking to hip hop. This is all about public perception and winning the internet game, which explains the trolling on the stories. But still, I gotta give it to Drake for saying some things that I haven't even seen West Coast artists say who may have had opposition with TDE, with Kendrick, for whatever reason, whether it's jealousy, whether it's something that happened. You don't hear them talking spicy about folks like Top Dogg. That's a name that you tread very carefully around if you're from out here. You understand. To play around with that name, to mention, even if he didn't mention it directly, in push-ups, Drake talks about, I'll be around bodyguards like Whitney. Like that's Kendrick's wife's name. To do things that at one point in time you said that's off the table. When it came to Pusha T, it makes me wonder about a few things, because my first reaction in hearing this was, what does Snoop feel about that? What does Snoop feel about seeing him be pulled into this conversation when he handed the torch off to Kendrick very famously on stage? Obviously, he's been a big advocate for not only West Coast artists, but specifically for Kendrick. How does he feel about being utilized in all of this? Well, that conversation came up here. Go ahead and move this around so you can see what I see. Snoop Dogg on his official Instagram account had this video.
They did what? When? How? Are you sure? Y'all have a good night.
Did y'all catch that? Did you catch that? You see where the camera panned? Let's look at it again, because we about to go on a rabbit hole. We about to go down a rabbit hole.
Why off? Everybody calling my phone, blowing me up. What the fuck? What happened? What's going on? I'm going back to bed. Good night.
If you didn't catch it, Snoop, as he was reacting to this, he doesn't say it by name. He doesn't give specifics, but everybody knows because of the timing. People are commenting and laughing. He's reacting, obviously, to the Drake, what do you want to call that? Troll? The Drake troll. We got trolling now. in the form of AI, and I don't know what the hell what's going on in 2024. He responds to it, but then he also pans the camera over and shows the Death Row logo. Well, why would he do that? That's when I started thinking about old videos we had done over the past year. One of them led me back to this article on Double XL. The headline reads on this one that Death Row Records, which Snoop Dogg, what was it that I don't want to get the terminology wrong. I don't want to say that he was in ownership of Snoop Dogg, but I know that he was in control of where the catalog goes and such. So he acquired Death Row Records last year. Now, the article reads, Death Row Records music catalog returns to streaming services. Now, if you didn't remember, there was a point in time where you couldn't access any of the albums on the Death Row catalog because Snoop took them off. And I believe he went into looking into like Web3 and things that he can do in that field with the music. But he brought it back. This is, mind you, from an article March 10th of last year. I want to follow this down here to this one specific point, and I think it's going to make a lot of sense of where I'm leading you to next. In 2022, December, Snoop quietly sold a stake in Death Row's catalog to Gamma, an independent full-scale music company led by former Apple Music executive Larry Jackson. Since the acquisition, fans have been demanding the West Coast icon put Death Row's music catalog back on DSPs. On Thursday night, March 9th last year, Snoop hopped on his Instagram page and posted a message. Yes, sir, I heard you. Along with a 6-second teaser, Death Row Records catalog is back streaming everywhere tonight. Now, he shows you these records that have been invited back to streaming at this point in time. And if you don't remember, Gamma, who is ran by Larry Jackson, who used to be, I believe, head of music over of artist relations or some aspect of music over at Apple Music, went and started Gamma. And there have been people like Joe Budden that have alluded to the possibility that Drake has stake in Gamma, has equity in Gamma. So he would benefit off of any of these artists that choose to distribute their music through Gamma. Allegedly. So, as we look through this catalog, we start to see not only Snoop's music that's a part of this, but also we see soundtracks, because obviously, of course, Pac was on Death Row, but he shows records that Pac has contributed to, namely movie soundtracks like Above the Rim, Gang Related, Gridlocked, and what was the other one? There was something, I think that was it for right now. And then whatever features have occurred here. Now, how do we tie all this together? Thinking about this AI voice cloning leak tells me that there's a possibility that the promotion of this type of technology, there's money to be made, first and foremost. Now, in terms of getting permission, well, if you got somebody who has acquired the catalog like a Snoop, and you have a relationship with someone who also has stake in that catalog like a Larry Jackson and Gamma, it might not be hard to get a Snoop permission, because I'm sure there's a fat ass check that goes along with that. Stuff that you could, a check that you could use to finance whatever you want to do with Death Row Records in this new era. Okay? I hate it here. I hate the rabbit hole we're already getting into. So, also, how would you get access to the likeness? I'm just alleging at this point, the likeness and even vocals that you can train to or train with your AI. How could you get access to that through 2pac's catalog unless it's through a Death Row that Snoop has access to and Gamma has access to? I hate it here. In the midst of me seeing this, I have not verified this, but I did think this was interesting because this is somebody who's a reputable name as well. Shout out to Flostradamus. Flostradamus is a legendary name in the EDM game. He has since got into other ventures, one of those being a app that he has created that allows you to use AI for free to change your vocals into whatever vocals that you want to use. Now, what's interesting about this is two things. He posted this today and he said, leaking the original audio that Champagne Poppy, that's Drake's handle, used in my free AI app, weights.gg, for the Kendrick Lamar diss. It's getting interesting. Check this out. So this is what Drake would have recorded before using this technology.
Illuminati. Dogs rise again. You can see it in my eyes again.
What's interesting is that I don't know how this relates directly to this screenshot, but it shows that this was done 12 months ago. That would be interesting. But who knows if this is the profile or what? I don't know what this profile is, but I do think it's interesting that this popped up and he shows us to be an original.
Kendrick, we need ya, the West Coast savior. 8th grade of your name and some hip-hop history. If you deal with this viciously, you seem a little nervous about all the publicity. Fuck this Canadian light-skinned doc. We to know the baby West Coast victory, man. Call him a bitch for me. Talk about him like in young girls, that's a gift for me. Heard it on the Button podcast, it's gotta be true. They told me the spirit of Machiavelli is allowed, and the nigga under 5'5", so it's gotta be you. I would beat the whole fucking game, it was me and Snoop.
So, who knows? I'm just bringing this up because I thought it was interesting. Now, someone here just actually said, how would you know the details about something that happens 12 months ago? Here's the theory that I'm going to start off with after I tell you this detail. You know what's also interesting about Flostradamus, and he follows me. Shout out to him. I'm a fan of the music that he's made. I talked to ChatGPT. You know, that's the homie. I said, since we AIing and all of this, I said, do any of the labels that Flostradamus has been affiliated with have a relationship with UMG? I'm sorry if you came in here for just the mindless entertainment. I'm sorry this might not be your kind of stream. But it says, yes, Fool's Gold Records, one of the labels associated with Flostradamus, has a distribution agreement with Universal Music Group's Caroline division, which indicates a direct relationship between the label and UMG.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
This agreement facilitates the distribution of Fool Gold's music globally, aligning with one of their major players in the music industry. Now, this is no kind of exposed piece for Flostradamus. I just think it's always interesting how it all points back to UMG. And UMG's push to get ahead first of this whole AI phenomenon, but also the promotion of it now. There's so much that just doesn't make sense for a company that was aggressively taking down YouTube channels. I don't know if you guys remember, there were some people on YouTube who had their entire YouTube account taken down because of them using AI cloning voices. Now you're trying to tell me that UMG has allowed their second biggest act out of nowhere in the midst of one of the biggest beefs, if not the biggest beef of his career. They've allowed him now to use AI for Tupac's voice and Snoop's voice, and there wasn't a conversation beforehand. This is where it pays to have a good memory. I want to play this clip here, and I'm going to actually have to block it a little bit so that we don't get flagged in the live stream. Remember that Rap Radar interview that Drake did after obviously Pusha T had him puzzled? He still hasn't responded. They talk about Kendrick being on the clock. He got to respond. No, I think they're pushing for him to respond because Drake knows the real deal song, the one he thinks is going to appease the internet and appease hip hop, that's the one he wants to get out there. The same way he tried to rush back to back to get out there. He's trying to rush this so that he can control the narrative and that he gets a head start. Okay, cool. But we got a good memory, Drake. Remember this clip?
I have no desire to ever mend anything with that person. And
He's talking about Pusha
yeah,
T, by
that
the way.
situation just went, it just went where it went, and it's just there is no turning back. It's not like those other situations. I'll say at that point, it wasn't even about battle rap or any of that. It was just the information was too shocking. It was, like I said, on his part, it was a genius chess move. He obviously has no, like, when it comes to me, he's not gonna have any like morals or respect. So the other elements of the record, whether it be like just like the shit that he's making up about my mom and my dad and all this like dumb shit, or obviously the part that hit me the most, which is like wishing like that my friend that has an illness like dies, like that shit to me is just not really wavy. Like I don't.
After he just used a dead man's voice for AI purposes to be petty and a beef.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Drake learned something after this battle, didn't he?
I'm just not really with that. Like, and when I did say, oh, there's rules to this, I didn't mean there's rules that anybody has to follow. But like in battle rap, they just headshotted that guy the other day because he was on stage and he pulled out a picture of the guy's dead aunt and started rapping about, that type of shit. And it just is what it is. There's a point where you're gonna want to stop rapping.
I think a few things, and I want to get to this Kanye diss as well that just dropped. But I think a few things about this conversation are really, really interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I think that Drake learned some really valuable lessons about the limitations of the power of the internet. I think that I think at that point in time, this is just me speculating, he felt that he was untouchable. I am Drake. I am the sweetheart. And so I grew up with these kids. I own Gen Z. Like, I own this. There's nothing that's going to ever come out that could ever sway the opinion. And then can we find this? Hold on. There's nothing any rapper could ever do that can push me out of position. And I got UMG's backing. I don't even want to get to nothing about nobody kids. I think that's something where, you know what I'm saying? You got to deal with that your own way. I got kids. That's not what I'm interested in. But it brings up a really, really, really interesting point. And that people have speculated for a long time that, just like many artists have before, and I don't say this disrespectfully, but like a Post Malone or like a Miley Cyrus, folks tend to jump into the culture of hip hop because it has the lowest barrier of entry. They jump into this, they sample the things they like, they make the money up off of it that they can, and they use it to cross over and to move into other places. As a business decision, chef's kiss. As a person or a person that respects and loves his culture, it'll never be respected, right? It's the same thing I shouldn't say the same thing, but it's partly the reason why MC Hammer had such a hard time in the 90s when he chose to strike some of these commercial deals. The things that you're seeing a Drake get celebrated for, and MC Hammer got, oh my gosh, I know this before a lot of y'all time, but he got crucified for striking deals with Pepsi, for having his own cartoon, and all these things that made him such a success. Now things that you look at and are like, yeah, people have already speculated that this is once again someone who is using different cultures, a Canadian. You know what I'm saying? The same guy that was arguing with his mom about not getting a tuna sandwich has been using his platform to dabble in different parts of black culture, find a way to just, yeah, I'm gonna wear that on. I'm gonna put these barrettes in my hair. Ooh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Ooh, I'm gonna start talking like this with an accent. Like, he does this, and in essence, it's a representation of this photo, which is taken out of context, of course. But blackface is the idea, not the idea. It is something that was utilized in the early 1900s. That was a way to make fun of black people. It was a way to not hire black people so that white actors could put this face on and act out whatever black stereotypes that they ever wanted to act out, whether that's eating watermelon and eating chicken and talking like this and bugging the eyes out. That was something that they utilized. This now is looking like it all over again. Now, instead of cosplaying as Fonte instead of cosplaying as a young Joe Budden, instead of cosplaying like a gangster from Memphis, instead of cosplaying as a lean sipper from Houston or Trey Songz, now he's cosplaying as AI, as 2pac and Snoop. That don't bother you? That don't bother.
Somebody gonna have to tell the
Whoa.
truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
This is where I think other issues come up. However, one thing that you cannot say about Drake, he ain't no dummy. He's not no dummy. Neither is Kendrick. Neither of these two people are dummies. Matter of fact, I have a speculation that there was a conversation before all of this shit. I think there was a we're going to get into this last part about 48 Laws of Power. I think there was a conversation before all of this shit. Months and months ago before all of this. This is me, even though I have contact with the daylight and some of these folks that you're seeing are saying things, we've had no conversations about this. Okay? Just put that out there. Yes, I've worked with TDE. I don't have a relationship with TDE today. Right? It's part of the reason why I chose to go independent. So let me be very transparent about this. I say this as someone just like you that is speculating, except for the fact that I have 20 years plus experience and I've seen the way some of these things happen. I've seen the way politics in the streets find their way to the industry, and I've seen it make it really difficult for certain rappers to walk around out here a certain way unless there's been some kind of understanding, unless there's been some kind of conversation. Drake partly lives in LA, Calabasas, I believe. Do you really want me to believe that there's been no conversations amongst the OGs, the J Princes, and whoever else is involved, the top dog? You want me to believe that there's not been a conversation beforehand, before the young Canadian starts talking crazy about Top Dog? How many rappers have you heard talk crazy about Top? Now utilizing Snoop Dogg's voices and 2pac voices, you think Afeni Shakur would have been cool with that? I think there was a conversation. I think there was an understanding amongst a small circle of people that have influence on other people that said, let's do this and let's get some paper out of it. I would love to believe that at some level Kendrick was involved in that, and I think some boundaries may have been set. This is me speculating. I think some boundaries may have been set that said this cannot happen, but all this can happen. For the love of the game? No. For the benefit of being paid, 1. 2, to use this as a rollout for AI, which you're seeing it front and center when your second most successful artist is using it creatively in a diss song. That is the best promotion you could ask for. That's as good as Kanye doing the commercial for the Super Bowl on his phone. That's great promotion. This is an introduction to that. Matter of fact, I talked about it on my Twitter. I said, I think that this is an opportunity for people to laugh, make fun of, make jokes about AI. And this is my theory. Let me go back to this really quick. And I'm going to come to your thoughts in a second. We'll talk about this, and I want to hear your point of view on it. But this is my thoughts on this. I said, I think the audience is, I think UMG's goal, Drake's goal, and maybe some vested interests all the way around. Who knows? I don't want to say all the way around. I'm going to say more so on Drake's side because he's been utilizing it, accused of utilizing it even for push-ups. Make the public laugh, make the public share, and become more comfortable with hearing AI music and verses. Check. Let the audience customize their own version so they can feel like they're a part of it. You see all these rappers that are popping up that are making their own diss songs. When has it ever been cool? Two rappers are going at it in this culture, and then somebody who got nothing to do with it jumps up and has just a bigger stage as they do. Biggest opportunity to be on every single media platform because of the possibility that it could be one of these artists. So let the audience customize it, their own versions, and they can feel like they're a part of it. Thirdly, sell them a subscription service within the next year. This is my prediction, to a UMG AI only streaming service.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Remember where you heard it first. I predict it'll happen within the next year. I think it's partly the reason why they have been so confident about breaking ties with TikTok, whether it'll be here or not. I think that they have been having a lot of great and productive conversations with Spotify. You see that they got some kind of social media platform that they're going to create with Spotify. This is a UMG rollout. That's why when you look at the poll on this video, the third choice is forget all this beef shit. What's really going on beyond all of the blood and gore? What's really going on beyond all of this? Right? Like forget the movie. Who's filming it is my question. Interesting times. Let's go to here. And I want to get to this Kanye diss as the way we kind of end this whole thing off, because I think it's interesting that he's getting involved as well. Those of you, maybe you're familiar with the 48 Laws of Power, but what you got to understand about this book, wrote by Robert Greene, it is probably one of the most quoted books. It is probably one of the most diabolical books in some ways. It is a book that those in power are either well familiar with, or they're familiar with it not to utilize it to attain power, but to protect the power that they have and to protect themselves from people who operate this way. However, one thing that you can't take away from this book is that there is a lot of brilliance throughout it, because it does show the way that people interact when they're at war or when they're trying to attain power. I highlighted a few of the rules in this book that I think relate directly to this whole Drake versus Kendrick situation. I think both of them are utilizing some laws of 48. First one, conceal your intentions. I think it was interesting how when Drake dropped push-ups, he didn't immediately claim it. Matter of fact, he went to the Law 4, which he always said less than what was necessary. He was too busy trolling through Instagram stories. Kendrick ain't said nothing. They had to go dig out a photo of him last year doing pull-ups in New York with, I think, A$AP Ferg's uncle, to make it seem like he's out and about and nervous. They have to go find things. This man has not, you ain't said nothing. He didn't teleport it to another time. What is going on? He's somewhere cooking, I'll tell you that right now. But both of them have utilized this law right here. The next one. So much, Law 5, so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. You don't think that right now Drake thinks that he needs to do this about his reputation? Because fairly or unfairly, he got about 20 different people that could go at him at any day. Hell, Kanye just went at him today. We're going to listen to that. So much depends on your reputation. Guard it with your whole life. Cool. Court attention at all costs. This, to me, talks about the internet. This, to me, talks about using the Insta stories the way that they've been doing it. Talking about all of the lowbrow content they've been talking about. Him and Rick Ross, to a certain degree, utilize this one. 7 and 8 and 9 are the most interesting. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That would be amazing if you can get someone who's a ghostwriter to record your vocals using AI, cloning, leak that version, and then you re-record the version and call it a CDQ. Because then you get to take credit for the work, but also the other person does the work for you. Interesting. Law 8, make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Perhaps that AI first song, Push-Ups, was the bait. Perhaps this was further proof of more bait through this. I don't know what you call that shit. That trolling 2pac, the tailor-made freestyle. Law 9, win through your actions, never through argument. I think Kendrick is utilizing that right now. When we see him drop his music, I expect for it to be worth the wait. I have no intel, but I expect to be worth the wait. Law 15, crush your enemies totally. I see this as going to be more something that whoever ends up getting the heads up, or whoever gets the one up in this battle, when it's actually a battle, this is going to be the responsibility of them to make sure that they never poke their head again. If it's Drake who loses, never poke your head again in hip-hop politics. Truly hip-hop politics. Play the pop hip-hop politics. Or if it's Kendrick, which I don't see, then it's never play like you're the big dog in the sense that I'm the big dog. I'm the UMG poster child. Who knows? But that is definitely a law. Law 17, keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. I think this is Kendrick right now. I think that Drake is doing everything that he can, but he's pushing at buttons that don't seem to concern Kendrick. Kendrick just doesn't. I've met the dude many a times. He's not the person that gets riled up about what they're saying on the internet and allows that to move his character and move his intent. So I think right now he's creating a suspended terror because it's like, you've been wanting this for 10 years. You've been you did the control verse. What you doing? Come on, let's rap. Let's rap. Please say something. I mentioned your wife. Say something. The next one, master the art of timing. I think this once again falls on Kendrick. This one I think is going to be utilized by both of them. It's already been used. Stir up waters to catch fish. This is where you kind of are using bait once again. But sometimes, and this is more so Drake, when you know you got 20 people coming at you, probably even more than that, people who are affiliates of them. Sometimes you got to drop, you got to just put your hand in the water and see how the fish go in whatever direction they go to. Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive, this says. You must always stay calm and objective. But if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you gain a decided advantage. Last one that I think alludes to this one. You can go through all of these. I think you can make an argument for most of these. Do not go past the mark you aim for. In victory, know when to stop. This is where I think is getting dangerous with Drake. And perhaps because of that agreement, whatever conversation, that fictional conversation, I think that happened, because of that, I think that he feels very confident about never being able to sway social media's opinion because Kendrick Lamar is never on social media. But I do think he's underestimating. I do think he's underestimating all of the stats that he thinks that are the abilities that he thinks a Kendrick Lamar rollout may have. With that said, man, I'm not looking at this anymore as a rap battle. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a rap battle to me no more. This is not the culture I love. This to me is when the NBA dunk contest started doing all them stupid ass antics. When like the third or fourth year, people were jumping over folks and like they was pulling out backboards and sponsorships and when what's my guy's name? He just retired recently. He was Blake Griffin. When Blake Griffin jumped over a Kia car and it was the sponsor of the NBA, like when they start ruining the game you love, the competition that used to be a Dominic Wilkins versus Michael Jordan. I know I feel old when I say this, but I feel like that's what's happening right now. So I'm not looking at this as any kind of a rap battle. I'm looking at this as there's breadcrumbs here. What's the real play at hand? Because at the end of this, we won't have a definitive winner. I don't think we'll have a definitive winner. There's too much money to be lost. Unless, of course, those odds are stacked up against a Kendrick Lamar winning if he chooses to stay independent. With that said, because I don't know what the relationship he has through PG Lang is with Interscope after this next project. That might have been the last album on the deal. He may be going independent. Who knows what that is? Maybe he goes to Gamma. Who knows what that looks like? But as it stands right now, they have nothing to benefit from either Kendrick or Drake losing. Right? Every one of them are under that umbrella. Now, Kanye is all the way independent, right? So it's really interesting to hear him name drop an exec because it's so crazy. I talk about this in my content all the time. All these rappers, everybody wants people to put a name on it. Hey, say who you dissing, say who you dissing. I get it. That's the culture of hip hop. Why we never put a name on these execs that get to still take their kids to work after these rappers die?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Excuse me, get to take their kids to school and then go to work and get to live generations of generations and generations off of other people's catalogs. Why we never name drop them? Why they never get brought up? Why does the pawns have to fight each other? Why do the pawns always like? And you have to understand, in the scope of how we look at hip hop, the Kendricks and the Drakes are the juggernauts. But the opposite end, these are merely players that I can replace with other players. Matter of fact, I don't even need another human being now. I can just use AI to replace you. So now I can eat off your catalog even if you're not here.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't think this is ever about who wins. We know, like, I think we know what we know as fans of who we're fans of. Those of you that are fans of a Drake, you know. There's nothing Kendrick could ever do to sway your fandom. If Pusha T couldn't sway your fandom after all the stuff he exposed, you're there. You're a diehard. You're an owl for life, baby. You're an OVO, baby. Same thing on the other end with Kendrick fans. You know that your guy is lyrically superior in every single category. But you also know that Drake plays a different game. And I don't think I've ever heard him say that he's lyrically, maybe he said in the early years, but I feel like he is pushed into a whole other direction. So you are going to stand on what side you stand on. And you know what happens in the midst of these beefs? Yes, there are some casualties of war. Yes, there's some people who may even crash out who don't understand there's an understanding at hand. Universal or whoever is the top of the food chain, they eat. They eat, my friends. And I feel like this is a situation in which they're going to eat again. What do you mean again, Curtis? Remember when 50 Cent and Kanye had their competition where I believe 50 Cent said, if I sell less records than you, Kanye, for your graduation album with my Curtis album, was it Curtis? Was the Curtis album? I forget which one it was. But when he said, if you sell more than me, I will retire and won't make music again. They went on 106 in Park. They went in, I think they were even on Rolling Stone magazine. You know what's interesting? Both of them were underneath Universal.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
If you came in here for just entertainment and not the information, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this might be that time where you're looking at wrestling as a kid and you become a teenager and you realize, I don't think he really hit him. I think he hitting his hand. Hey, they not really, what? The rock bottom ain't really bottom? What's going on? That Stone Cold ain't even cold? Oh, this might be that time period for you. So, regardless of your fandom, I just hope you understand that there's another play at hand. I think the bigger play at hand has to do with you becoming more familiar and more in love with the idea of AI. Because who wins in this conversation right now? AI. Now, I'll tell you this. I got Kendrick. But I would feel very, very disappointed if I saw Kendrick release, say for instance, like somebody alluded to it, a XXX Tentacion AI that alluded to Drake having something to do with his demise. That would make me just duck all the way out of here. But you know what's interesting? I told you guys this as I was talking about the J. Cole video. Remember what I said? I said that was the last battle, Kendrick versus J. Cole, for the culture that I was interested in. This one, I just knew what it was going to get into. And now it's getting into, it's just getting into nasty. It's just getting into very petty ground. Very petty territory. But hey, when you win the internet, who loses? Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. You let me know yours.
DIY.